Story 1. The Silence of Dire Holler Location, a remote holler in the Appalachian Mountains. Event, a lone hiker's encounter with a place that absorbs sound and memory. From the recovered journal of Elias Thorne, found near the trailhead of the unnamed creek access point, Cherokee National Forest. Day 1. The air here is different. Thicker, somehow. I came to the Appalachians to find silence, to escape the digital scream of the city. Dire Holler, according to the old-timer at the general store, is as silent as it gets. No birds sing there, boy, he said, his eyes like worn pebbles. The ground just soaks it all up. I thought he was being poetic. The first few hours of the hike were glorious. The crunch of my boots on fallen leaves, the rustle of a squirrel, the distant caw of a crow. It was a symphony of the wild I'd been craving. I made camp by a clear, cold creek that tumbled over slick, gray stones. As the sun dipped below the ridgeline, the forest changed. The sounds didn't just fade, they were extinguished. One moment, a cricket was chirping. The next, nothing. It was like a switch had been flipped. I sat by my fire, and the crackling of the flames seemed muffled, absorbed by the oppressive quiet of the holler. It's a different kind of silence. Not peaceful, but heavy. A vacuum. It feels like it's pressing in on my eardrums. Day 2, I woke up disoriented. The silence of the night was absolute. No owls, no rustling, nothing. I broke camp, the sound of my zipper unnaturally loud in the stillness. I decided to hike deeper in, towards the Devil's Standing Stone the old-timer had mentioned, a local landmark. That S when I first noticed it. The echo was gone. I shouted hello. Into the woods, a sound that should have bounced off the mountains and come back to me in fragments. Instead, it just stopped. As if the air itself was a solid wall that my voice hit and died against. I tried again, louder. Same result. A growing unease began to prickle at the back of my neck. This wasn't natural. I found the stone around noon. It was a monolith of dark, craggy rock, jutting out of the earth like a fawn. Strange, spiral carvings covered its surface, worn smooth by time. As I ran my hand over them, I felt a strange vibration, a low hum that I felt more in my bones than I heard. I took a photo with my phone. When I looked at the screen, the image was distorted. The stone was a blur of static, and the woods around it seemed to bend away from it, as if in fear. I tried to take another, but my phone was dead. Not just the battery, but cold. Unnaturally, frigidly cold in my hand. I decided I'd had enough of Dire Holler. I packed up quickly, my movements jerky with a fear I couldn't name. The silence was no longer just oppressive, it felt hungry. Day 3, I'm lost. I know I'm lost. I've been walking for what feels like a full day, but I keep circling back to the Devil's Standing Stone. The sun seems to hang in the same spot in the sky, a pale, jaundiced eye. The silence is now a presence. I feel it watching me. It's not just the absence of sound, it's an active force, erasing things. Last night, I tried to start a fire. The wood wouldn't catch. It would smoke, but the flame would die instantly, smothered by the heavy, soundless air. In the darkness, I heard something. Not a sound, but the idea of a sound. A memory of a twig snapping behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam cutting a nervous path through the trees. Nothing. But I knew something was there. It was the holler itself. It was playing with me. Worse, my memories are starting to feel thin. I tried to remember my sister's face, my apartment in the city, the sound of traffic. The images are there, but they're like faded photographs, losing their color and detail. The holler is soaking up more than just sound. It's soaking up me. My pack feels lighter, and when I checked, my extra rations were gone. Not stolen, just gone. As if they had never been there. Final entry, I can't remember how long I've been here. Time has no meaning. The sun is a pale smear, the moon a distant, indifferent chip of ice. I don't need food anymore. I don't feel hunger or thirst. I just feel the silence. It's inside me now. It scraped out my insides and filled the empty space with its own profound, hollow nothing. I saw it today. Or I felt it. A shape moved between the trees, a distortion in the air, like heat haze on a summer road. It had no form I could describe, but I knew it was the heart of this place. The source of the hunger. It wasn't a monster that would eat my flesh. It was something far worse. A place that consumes your essence until you're just another part of its silence. Another ghost wandering its woods, your voice, your memories, your very soul, swallowed whole. I'm sitting at the base of the Devil's Standing Stone now. The carvings are glowing with a faint, internal light. I think I understand them now. They're a warning. And a welcome. I can feel my own thoughts starting to fade, to be absorbed into the stone, into the dirt, into the quiet, watching trees. My name, as it was the rest of the journal, is filled with blank pages, save for a single, spiraling symbol drawn on the very last one, identical to the carvings on the stone. Story 2, the Salt Flat Cemetery location, the Bonneville Salt Flats, Utah. Event, a land speed record enthusiast is tormented by a geometric, reality warping entity. Incident report filed with the Tooele County Sheriff's Office. Deputies were dispatched to a disabled vehicle on the Bonneville Salt Flats access road. The vehicle belonged to one Jax Riley, 34. Riley was found in a state of extreme agitation and dehydration. The following is a transcript of his incoherent statement, recorded on a deputy's body cam. The video shows Jax Riley, covered in a fine white dust, sitting in the back of a patrol car. His eyes are wide, darting around. Jax, it doesn't like a cemetery. You understand? It can't stand it. I built her perfect. The vaporizer. 7,000 pounds of steel and nitromethane, built for one thing, to cut a perfect line across that white hell. He laughs, a dry, rattling sound. Deputy, sir, we need you to calm down. What happened out there? Jax, calm. There is no calm out there. Only the flat. The endless, perfect, lying flat. I was doing a test run. No official timing, just feeling the engine. I was pushing 300, 350. The world outside the windshield was a blur. Just the white. And the black line. My line. He traces a straight line on the fogged-up window. Deputy, your vehicle broke down. We can see that. Jax, it didn't break down. It was stopped. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought it was a mirage. A heat shimmer. But the engine was cold, the air was dead. Out there, about 100 yards off my port side, was a shape. A perfect, black, three-dimensional shape. Like a hole cut out of the world. It was a cube. Just sitting there on the salt. Floating, maybe. No shadow. No reflection. Just a perfect black cube. I stopped the car. Got out. The silence out there, it's not empty. It's full of a high-pitched whine, like a TV left on in an empty room. I walked towards it. The salt crunched under my boots, but the sound felt wrong. Muffled. Like the cube was sucking in the sound. I got within 50 feet. And it changed. The cube unfolded. Not like a box opening. It rotated. It revealed itself to be a hypercube, a tesseract, a thing of impossible angles that my mind couldn't process. And I understood. The salt flats are its canvas. And it demands symmetry. A perfect line. My car, my beautiful vaporizer, it was an asymmetrical blemish. An ugly, noisy, chaotic shape on its perfect white plane. Deputy, sir, are you saying you were attacked by a shape? Jax, it didn't touch me. It started erasing things. First, my tire tracks. The ones I made driving up. They just smoothed out, filled in, as if I'd never been there. Then it started on the car. I watched the dent in the driver's side door, a souvenir from a pit stop in Bonneville, just pop out. The metal flowed like water, becoming smooth, perfect. The racing stripes on the side, they started to bleed, the red and blue colors running together and then fading, leaving the pristine white of the body. I ran back to the car, but the door was sealed. The handles were gone, smoothed over. I was locked out. I pounded on the window, but it was no longer glass. It was the same seamless, white surface as the rest of the body. The car was becoming a featureless, white blob, like a smooth stone. Then it started on the world around me. The distant mountains, they lost their jagged edges. Their peaks softened, their slopes became gentle, uniform curves. The clouds in the sky, they stopped being random. They arranged themselves into perfect, concentric circles. The sun was a perfect circle in the center. It was turning the whole world into a goddamn geometric drawing. I ran. I just ran. I didn't look back. I could feel it behind me, the presence, the cold, logical hate for my messy, organic, asymmetrical form. I tripped and fell, and when I put my hand down to break my fall, my fingers, they felt different. I looked. My pinky finger was gone. Not bloody, not severed. Just gone. The skin had sealed over into a smooth, continuous surface. It was making me symmetrical. Jax holds up his left hand. The deputy shines his flashlight on it. The fourth finger is indeed missing, with no scar or indication it was ever there. Jax, I ran until I found the road. The road is asymmetrical. Cracks, oil stains, it was safe. It's why you found me. But it's still out there. On the flats. Waiting. Watching. Don't go out there. Don't take anything that isn't a perfect, straight line. It hates the curves. It hates the noise. It hates us. Jax begins to sob, a raw, asymmetrical sound in the sterile silence of the patrol car. Deputy, let us get you to the hospital, sir. The case was closed as a psychotic break brought on by heat stroke and dehydration. The vehicle, a heavily modified 1970s muscle car, was found the next day. Deputies reported it was strangely pristine, as if it had just rolled off the showroom floor, with no identifying marks, license plates, or signs of customization whatsoever. Story 3, the Cornfield Symbiosis Location, a remote farm in rural Nebraska. Event, a family inherits a farm where the corn is a single, malevolent organism. Excerpt from the therapy sessions of Dr. Alana Finch with her patient, Sarah Miller. Names have been changed. Dr. Finch, so, tell me again why you left the farm, Sarah. You said it was the corn. Sarah, voice trembling, it wasn't corn, doctor. Not like we know it. My husband, Tom, he inherited that farm from a great uncle he never met. 1,000 acres in the middle of nowhere. We thought it was a blessing. A chance to get away from the city, raise our boy, Leo, in the fresh air. The first week was perfect. The house was old but solid. The fields, the corn was already planted. It was the healthiest, most perfect corn I'd ever seen. Stalks as thick as your wrist, leaves a deep, waxy green. It stretched to the horizon in every direction. Dr. Finch, it sounds beautiful. Sarah, it was a lie. The first sign was the sound. At night, there was no rustling. You know how corn sounds in the wind. A shushing, whispering sound. This was silent. 1,000,000 stalks, 10 million leaves, and not a sound. It was like the air was too thick to move them. Then there were the insects. Or the lack of them. No grasshoppers, no aphids, nothing. The corn was clean. Perfectly, unnaturally clean. Tom loved it. He walked the rows for hours, talking about the soil, the health of the stalks. He started changing. He became quieter. More deliberate. He'd spend hours just standing at the edge of the field, staring into it. One night I found him out there, in his pajamas. He was just standing there, his hand resting on a stalk. I asked him what he was doing. He said, just listening. Dr. Finch, listening to what? Sarah, that's the thing. I put my ear to a stalk once. I felt a vibration. A slow, deep pulse. Like a heartbeat. It was the whole field. All of it, beating as one. It's one organism, Doctor. One single, thinking thing, and we were living in its stomach. Leo started having nightmares. He'd wake up screaming about the straw men walking in his room. I'd check, and there'd be nothing. But his room would be full of pollen, a fine, yellow dust that wasn't from any flower I knew. It smelled sweet, like decay. The real terror started when Tom decided to build a new silo. He brought in a crew. They started digging the foundation. That's when the corn fought back. The next morning, the hole they dug was filled in. Packed tight with soil, as if it had never been touched. The foreman, a tough old farmer named Gus, just shook his head and said, "Some ground don't want to be dug." They left. Tom was furious. He rented a backhoe and decided to do it himself. I begged him not to. I told him it felt wrong. He just looked at me with these empty eyes. "The corn needs to be stored, Sarah," he said. "It's time for the harvest." He started digging. He was about 10 feet down when the machine stalled. The soil around the hole began to move. It wasn't an avalanche. It was more like a muscle contracting. Thick, ropey roots, thicker than my arm, began to snake out of the walls of the pit. They weren't normal roots. They were pale, almost white, and they moved with purpose. They wrapped around the arm of the backhoe, and the metal just crumpled. Like tinfoil. Tom jumped out and ran. The roots followed him, slithering across the ground like giant, pale worms. He made it to the porch, but one of them wrapped around his ankle. It pulled him back. I watched, screaming, as more roots came out of the corn, pulling him into the field. The last I saw of him was his hand, reaching for me, before the corn closed over him like a green sea. Dr. Finch, Sarah, that's a horrifying story. But you have to understand the trauma of losing your husband, Sarah. He is not dead. He is part of it now. That night, I saw him. He was standing at the edge of the corn, just like he used to. But he was different. Taller. His skin had a waxy, greenish sheen. His eyes were solid black. And he wasn't alone. There were others with him, figures made of husks and stalks, all silent, all staring at the house. The straw men from Leo's dreams. I grabbed Leo, and we ran. We drove for hours before I looked back. In the rearview mirror, I saw the farm. And the corn, it was moving. Not in the wind. It was rippling, like it was breathing. And it was spreading. I could see the edge of the field, creeping towards the road, swallowing the grass, the trees, everything. We left the state. We left everything. But some nights, I wake up, and the room is full of that sweet, yellow pollen. And I can hear it. That slow, deep, rhythmic pulse. Waiting. It's patient. It knows where we are. It's still growing. Sarah Miller and her son disappeared 2 weeks after this session. Their apartment was found abandoned, covered in a fine layer of yellow pollen. No trace of them has ever been found. Story 4, The Glacial-Grown Location, the Juneau Icefield, Alaska. Event, a glaciologist discovers that a glacier is an ancient, predatory entity. Audio log from the personal recorder of Dr. Eris Thorne, University of Alaska Fairbanks. Log date, classified. Thorne, sound of wind, harsh and constant. Day 7 at Camp Denali. The weather has closed in. Whiteout conditions for 48 hours. I'm alone. My pilot, Mark, left yesterday and was supposed to return today. No chance of that now. I'm confined to the tent. Which is fine. Gives me time to collate the seismic data. And to process what I've found. A long pause. The sound of ice creaking, deep and resonant. This glacier, the Mendenhall, is just a finger of it. This ice field, it's not a river of ice. That's the textbook definition, and it's wrong. It's a single, slow-moving predator. I've been monitoring the groans, the deep frequency sounds it makes as it moves over the bedrock. For weeks, I thought they were random. Fractures, calving, stress releases. They're not. They're a language. A pattern. I ran the data through a new spectral analysis program I designed. The groans aren't random. They form complex, repeating sequences. It's communication. But with what? There's nothing else here. Just the ice and the rock. The only answer is that the ice is communicating with itself. It's a single, distributed consciousness. A mind made of frozen water and ancient, compressed air. Last night, the groans changed. The pattern became more agitated. Faster. More complex. It was like it was excited. I was in my tent, and I heard a new sound. A scraping sound. Right outside. Not the wind. A deliberate, rhythmic scrape. 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 I unzipped the tent flap. It was a full moon, the clouds had parted for a moment. And I saw it. About 50 yards away, a spire of ice, maybe 100 feet tall, had changed. It had grown a protrusion. A sharp, crystalline spike that jutted out horizontally, like a single, massive claw. And it was scraping against the rock wall of the valley. Slowly, deliberately. Sharpening itself. I watched, paralyzed, as another spire nearby began to shift. It twisted, groaning that deep, subaudible groan, until it resembled a head, a misshapen block of ice with two dark fissures that looked like eyes. It turned towards my tent. Thorn's breathing becomes ragged. It knows I'm here. It knows I'm listening. The seismic data, it's not just communication. It's hunting. The patterns I detected, they match the migratory routes of caribou from 1,000 years ago. It remembers. It learns. It's been here for millennia, dreaming in the ice, waiting. It's not just rock and frozen water. It's a geological carnivore. The scraping stopped. Then I heard the crunching. Slow footsteps. I looked out again. The spire, the one with the claw, it had broken off from the main glacier. It was standing on its own, a 20-foot-tall pillar of ice, walking. It took another step, its base cracking and reforming with each movement. It was coming for me. I grabbed my rifle. Pointless. I fired a shot. The bullet hit it and just flattened against its surface, a tiny puff of snow. It didn't even slow down. A new sound joins the wind. A high-pitched cracking, like a giant tree snapping in half. It's here. It's tearing at the tent fabric. The nylon is just disintegrating where it touches. It's so cold. A cold that burns. It's not trying to get in to eat me. It's trying to absorb me. To make me part of the ice. To add my memories, my consciousness, to its own. The sound of tearing fabric becomes overwhelming. Thorn screams, a short, sharp cut-off sound. Final audio entry, the recorder is now outside. The wind is the only sound for a full minute. Then, a new sound begins. It's a low, rhythmic groan, but it's different from the others. It's deeper, more complex. And woven into its pattern is a new, high-frequency sound. A tiny, terrified human scream, looped and replayed, now a permanent part of the Glacier's voice. The rescue team found Dr. Thorn's tent torn to shreds. His equipment was buried under a fresh fall of snow. His body was never found. The official report lists him as a victim of a catastrophic calving event. However, the lead ranger noted in his private log that the seismic monitors in the area had gone silent. All except for one, which was now broadcasting a strange, new, and terrifyingly complex signal from the heart of the ice. Story 5, the harbor's low-tide location, a decaying fishing village on the coast of Oregon. Event: a journalist discovers the town's prosperity is tied to a covenant with a tidal entity. Email transcript from Lena Petrova, freelance journalist, to her editor, Frank. Subject: final draft, port rejection. Frank, this is the story. This is everything. I'm sending it to you, the local authorities, and a few other contacts. If you don't hear from me in 24 hours, you know what to do. They're not going to let me leave. Port Rejection, Oregon, is a town that should be dead. The canneries closed in the 80s. The timber industry dried up. It's a forgotten curve of coastline, perpetually shrouded in fog. But it's not dead. It's prosperous. Not in a flashy way, but the houses are maintained, the trucks are new, the people are well-fed. The secret is in the harbor. Or, more accurately, what happens when the tide goes out. I came here to do a fluff piece on coastal resilience. The locals were friendly, but tight-lipped. They all had the same glassy-eyed look. They talked about the provider and the gift. I thought it was some kind of local cult, a metaphor for the CS bounty. I was wrong. It's not a metaphor. The town's elder, a woman named Mara who looks like she has been carved from driftwood, finally explained it to me. Or rather, she showed me. She took me down to the docks at low tide, last night. The full moon was out. The harbor was empty, a vast mudflat littered with rocks and pilings. The air smelled of brine and something else, something ancient and fleshy. The provider doesn't like the noise, she said, her voice a gravelly whisper. It only comes when the water is gone. When it's just us, and the mud, and the quiet. Then I saw it. At first, I thought it was a rock formation, covered in kelp and barnacles. But it moved. A slow, heaving motion. It was a creature of impossible size, embedded in the mudflats, its body a continent of gray, wrinkled flesh. It had no discernible head or limbs, just a vast, amorphous bulk that pulsed with a sickening, slow rhythm. Tendrils, thick as pythons, snaked out from its main body, probing the mud. This was the provider. The town's god. The gift, Mara explained, is what it leaves behind. When the tide comes back in, it washes over the creature. The water churns with a strange, phosphorescent light. And when the tide recedes again, the mudflats are covered in pearls. Not normal pearls. They're larger, iridescent, and glow with a soft, internal light. The town harvests them. They're worth a fortune on the black market. Biological oddities that defy explanation. That's the source of their prosperity. But there's a price, Mara said, her eyes fixed on the heaving flesh. The provider is lonely. It needs company. It needs to remember what it's like to be on land. That's when the horror truly set in. She pointed to a series of smaller, man-sized pits in the mud, arranged in a semicircle around the creature's main body. The tithing, she called them. Every full moon, the town chooses one of its own. Someone who is unhappy, or a troublemaker, or an outsider who has overstayed their welcome. They walk out onto the mudflats at low tide and lie down in one of the pits. The creature's tendrils find them. They don't pull them under. They envelop them. Slowly. Over hours. I saw the evidence. In the mud, half buried, were the things it leaves behind. Not just pearls. A single, leather shoe. A pair of glasses with a shattered lens. A gold wedding band, twisted and corroded. The last remnants of the town's sacrifices. I've been here 2 weeks, Frank. I've been asking too many questions. I've seen the way they look at me. Last night, after Mara showed me the creature, I went back to my room at the inn. There was a small, glowing pearl on my pillow. A message. I'm the next tithe. The tide is going out now. I can hear them gathering outside. They're not angry. They're serene. They believe they're doing me a kindness, uniting me with their God. I'm barricaded in my room, but I know it's useless. The low tide is coming. The provider is waiting. This is my story. Don't let them bury it. Don't let them turn it into a local legend. It's real. It's hungry. And it's waiting for the water to leave. Lena. The email was sent at 11:47 p.m. The next morning, Lena Petrova's room was found empty. The door was unlocked from the outside. On her pillow, where she said the pearl had been, was only a damp, muddy indentation. The townspeople of Port Rejection claimed she had left in the night, an emotional woman who couldn't handle the quiet life. They continued to prosper, their harbor glowing with an eerie light on the nights of the full moon.